Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we've got something quite interesting. You can see we have the brand new Hallmark Velociraptor. This is it states Jurassic Park Velociraptor, though in my opinion it much more closely resembles a Lost World Jurassic Park Velociraptor. It's even named Clever Girl and everything, so it's like they were basing it on the JP Raptor, but I don't know if it was a mistake or not, but they definitely gave it way more of a tiger-striped kind of Lost World Jurassic Park Velociraptor look. But the image here makes it look incredible. I have my serious doubts, though, that the figure will look even close to as nice as this once we pull it out of the box. Again, you've got the Jurassic Park logo and everything down here, and then on the side, 2025. On the back, just some random information, 2025, and again up here, Hallmark. So let's pop this open and check it out. And just as I expected, the paintwork is nowhere near as nice as the prototype that we had seen on the box, but it doesn't look bad. However, this one is a little bit of a tricky figure because, again, once you actually see it in person, it doesn't quite have those more vibrant orangish tones that would, qualify it as a Lost World Jurassic Park Raptor, but it doesn't quite have the darker brown tones that would qualify it as a Jurassic Park Velociraptor. So it is kind of a confusing figure. The Jurassic Park logo looks cool, but as a whole, it is a little bit of a weird look for a raptor like this. Also, it kind of messed that up. I'm instantly noticing that, the brown that moves from the eye should kind of have, some stripes. That's how it looked on the packaging. That's even how it looks over here, but obviously nowhere near as nice. But it's actually missing those kind of stripes moving down over here. When you start here in the head sculpt, you can see it looks okay. The detail isn't really that impressive. It doesn't really pop on the figure all that well. We have the eye painted with a yellow and a slit-like black pupil, and then some dark brown there. Kind of has like an orangish brown for the primary body color. You've got the nostrils sculpted out right there, and they are actually highlighted with a darker tone, which is nice to see. The mouth is in an open position. We've got the tongue there on the inside of the mouth. It doesn't really look like it has much, maybe a little bit of a different tone of color in there. The teeth are all sculpted out, but they don't really look that great. Not terrible, but not great. It's kind of a mixed bag. They actually look a little bit better over here on this side, but again, the teeth on either side don't really look all that incredible. But as you move back into the body, I think the skin texture does pick up a little bit. It doesn't look, again, amazing, but it definitely looks less washed out than we see in the face. We do have some brown that follows along the spinal column and then actually over the top of the head, and then stripes down here along the side of the neck. As we continue to lead down, you've got the arm, very obvious seam where the arm is connected, but as you lead through the arm, it absolutely replicates that very eerie Jurassic Park style Velociraptor arm, that nice long slender arm with those long slender fingers. You've got the claws sculpted out and painted, which is nice to see, and we do have a lighter tone that follows along the underside of the arm. We also have the muscle definition nicely displayed, some more of the brown stripes as you lead down through the arm. Moving back a little further, of course, we've got more really nice looking detail here in the stomach. It's definitely more vibrant in the body of the raptor when it comes to the skin texture. More of those stripes following along the back, leading down from the darker brown. They're a little bit inconsistent though. Like as you move up, you can see the stripe really obviously, but then you don't really see it so much actually striping over the back, unfortunately. Another super obvious seam as you move down into the leg, and the transition from the light tone down into the leg isn't very smooth at all. In fact, it actually just disappears very abruptly. As you lead down through the leg though, you do have some nice muscle definition. You've also got the striping effect moving down through the front of the leg all the way down to the shin. Not really all that great looking. The actual application is fairly lackluster, but it does have that striping effect. And again, we do have the lighter tone on the insides of the legs. As you move down into the foot sculpt, it definitely has a really nice looking JP or Lost World Jurassic Park style raptor foot sculpt. You've got the claws again sculpted pretty nicely, and since it is rubbery and flexible, it does have a sharp look, which is nice. And then you also again have them painted with a black, and we do have dew claws which are actually painted, which is definitely nice to see. And then we move back here, and the tail leads up really sharply into the air. You do have the striping effect again that follows out through the remainder of the tail. Pretty smooth transition from the darker brown of the back down into the side lighter, kind of like orangish brown, and then the lighter tone down along the underside of the tail. The skin texture continues to look pretty decent. When you come over here, the raptor is almost in the same position because it's obviously leaping here into the air, but this leg is kind of outstretched a little bit further and just down a little bit lower than what we see on the other side there. I can also see a little sloppiness to the paintwork of the sickle claw right there. It doesn't quite actually have the fully painted look in that area. But again, pretty much the same sort of a look on this side compared to what we saw on the first side. The paintwork and everything looks pretty okay. Moving through a little chip of paint right there on the top of the neck of mine, but it doesn't look horrible. This area, again, is like one of the worst areas of the paintwork here because it just looks super generic right there. But in general, the paintwork I wouldn't say is all that high quality on the figure. As you move down along the underside, again, you can see the lighter tone as well as the nice looking detail. I think the detail does look pretty good overall moving through most of the figure. It's just like a little washed out in the face. And then, of course, we do have the Jurassic Park logo, which does look pretty cool and is actually painted quite nicely. And then you've got the little loop up there so that you can hang it wherever you would like. And then, of course, Clever Girl on the back, which is really cool. It's not a huge figure, of course, being an ornament. You wouldn't expect it to be. Let's see if I can kind of reposition the camera and find a way to get this thing in some sort of a way to stand. Okay, so I can kind of get it standing like that. So if we want a measurement, I guess we can go for a height now that it's standing this way. To the top of the tail, it's about 5 3/4 inches or around 14.5 centimeters. If we go for a length from the snout to the tail, you are looking at about 5 3/4 inches or about 14.5 centimeters. So I guess pretty much the same in either direction. For a size comparison, there's Mr. Papo T-Rex, Robert Muldoon, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our raptor. And you can see again, it's fairly small like you would expect it to be. It's not a huge figure by any means. I was also able to kind of prop it up there on a PNSO stand to try to give us a better visual of the comparison. But for another comparison, and probably the only other comparison I think that we would need here is a Mattel Velociraptor, which you can see this Hallmark version is just a little bit smaller than the Mattel version. Sculpt-wise, though, it definitely has a lot more impressive like proportions and stuff compared to the Mattel version. But obviously it still isn't anywhere near as nice as we saw on the box and the original prototype. And again, just to kind of give you one more look here at the two together from what we saw on the prototype compared to the version that you actually get, I didn't expect it again to be nearly as incredible as it is on the box there, but it kind of looks like we're even missing certain areas of color because it kind of looks like it has like the yellowish tone following along the lower part of the body, very much so like the Lost World Raptor does. That's completely not on this figure. Again, all of the paintwork is so much smoother on the original, very lackluster when it comes to its application here on this figure. So obviously it wasn't going to show up looking as impressive as we see in the box, but it definitely could have been a bit better. So this brand new Hallmark Jurassic Park Velociraptor, or Lost World Jurassic Park Velociraptor, whatever it is that they were going for, is fun. You know, for being an ornament, it's definitely fun. It's not incredible. It's not even, I would say, the best ornament they've released, but it does have a pretty fun look to it, and of course it does have an attacking Velociraptor, so it's definitely got its upsides. Sculpt-wise, the Raptor is a little muted in the face. The detail does pick up as you move down into the body, but nothing on this is extremely impressive when it comes to the sculpt, and even the head sculpt, I feel like, almost looks a little bit off from what we would see in Jurassic Park or The Lost World. The paintwork, as I've already mentioned, isn't really that great, but it's not terrible. It's decent for what it is. Again, it's just a little bit confusing as to whether or not they were actually aiming for a tiger-striped raptor or a Jurassic Park raptor, because it kind of looks like a mixture of both together. It is, again, not the greatest application when it comes to like the striping or anything like that. It just looks very amateurish overall, but the Hallmark ornaments never have the greatest paintwork in the world, so I'm not all that surprised. It does have a fairly soft, flexible feel through the entire figure, which is also nice. Again, something that will be hard to damage, at least as far as that goes, so that's a plus. And the fact that it does have painted claws and everything, even dew claws, is nice. And I do quite like the Jurassic Park logo that's added to it with the Clever Girl on the back. So again, kind of a mixed bag with this one. It's definitely fun. However, I wouldn't say it's worth the price tag. It is around $30 to purchase this, and it is nowhere near worthy of that cost. And you know, had I actually realized how poorly done the paint apps were, I may not have even ordered it. But it is what it is. I'm happy that I have it. It's just not something that I highly recommend grabbing. But if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase it on Amazon.com. So check that link, go grab it if you want it, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.